So, for my international event presentation, I chose to do the Cannes Film Festival, which is an annual festival held in Cannes, France. So, a bit about its origins. The Cannes Film Festival officially began in 1946, but its groundwork was laid in 1938. Basically, in 1938, one of the main film festivals at the time was the Venice Film Festival, also known as the Mostra. It was under extreme pressure from both Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy under Mussolini. An American film was by far the voters' favorite during that year, but due to the political tension, an Italian film was selected. This caused a large rift between other attendees like France and Italy and Germany. Basically, what happened was an American film was favored to win the festival by the juries judging the movies, but Nazi Germany and Italy were putting pressure on the voters to select this Italian film as the winner. Out of this came the plans for the first Cannes Film Festival by Philippe Erlanger and others. The festival was slated to begin September 1st, 1939, with stars in Cannes and preparations done. So you had all these big Hollywood celebrities coming into Cannes. They were actually on the boat in the harbor. I think Mae West and a bunch of these other really sort of old-timey Hollywood people were there. But September 1st, 1939 was the day that war broke out in Europe, and obviously they had to cancel the festival. And during the war, it kept getting postponed and postponed until finally it actually happened in 1946, which is when the first Cannes Film Festival officially started. So some further history. As mentioned before, the festival began in 1946 at the Palais Croisette. That was the original venue. Throughout the 50s, Cannes dealt with the ongoing Cold War tensions, which caused certain titles to be censored, many of which were coming from the Soviet Union. This censorship was dropped in 1956 with new rules to Cannes, but the overall tensions of the festival didn't subside. In 1968, the festival was influenced by increasing social tensions in France, and the 1969 festival saw directors boycott certain films such as Peppermint Frappe. Literally, you had all these directors at that festival were basically holding shut the curtains so that the Peppermint Frappe movie wouldn't be screened. And this was due to a lot of social tensions that were occurring in France at the time. Over the span of the 70s and 80s, new names started to rise at the festival, like Francis Ford Coppola, Steven Spielberg, and Robert De Niro. It was also around this time that the event took on a much more international feel, with the Soviet Union being opened up in the late 80s and increased representation from Asia. Additionally, a change in venue occurred in 1983 from the Palais Croisette to the Palais des Festivals et des Congrès. As Cannes has continued over time, it has evolved as a festival, from becoming green to making more technological considerations in awards, and for the introductions of some of the big names of today in terms of directors, producers, actors, etc. Culture. The Cannes Film Festival has a huge impact on film and entertainment culture. A little bit about it. It's the most publicized and important film festival in the world, occurring annually as mentioned before. It showcases international and or indie film talent that often get sidelined in mainstream film culture. Actually, you could make the argument that the Cannes Film Festival is primarily for those sorts of indie films rather than those, big name blockbuster films that you'll see in the theater that get $1 billion in box office revenue. Additionally, it provides a type of springboard for emerging talent to showcase their work at the festival and greatly boost their resume. That's one of the biggest benefits about it, and that's why having your movie appear in the Cannes Film Festival is such a big deal. The festival's iconic red steps also provide a chance for the Cannes Festival to be broadcast to the world as one of its most recognizable features. So basically, that's the sort of trademark of the festival, is those red steps. And then finally, Cannes also constantly reinvents itself, meaning it will likely maintain its status in helping to springboard new talent moving forward, so it always stays fresh, it always stays relevant. Not to say there aren't issues, but it tries to keep itself with the times. So about its political links, the Cannes Film Festival has historically never shied away from political issues. The festival itself was founded out of political issues regarding France, Nazi Germany, and Fascist Italy. The political culture of the festival is not lost to date. For example, the 25 Festival was especially political. Speakers such as Robert De Niro spoke against U.S. tariffs, and the festival had an air of creative freedom surrounding it in relation to developments around the world. Additionally, the films featured at the festival discussed issues such as sexual abuse, police misconduct, sterilization, political polarization, mental health, and COVID from both American and foreign perspectives. I believe there were several movies that dealt with these issues that were shown at the festival. Some of them had really prominent actors in it. I think Jennifer Lawrence, Robert Pattinson. They were both in movies. Generally, the festival does take on a political sort of feel to it. Whether it had to do with World War II, the Cold War, censorship in the Soviet Union, or social upheavals, the festival has maintained an artistic concern with politics. Again, usually the political concern is always related to art and creative freedom, rather than just making a political statement to make a political statement. Alright, so about the religious connections to the Cannes Film Festival, this is actually very interesting since the festival actually does have a specific religious component to it, which may be different than what one would expect of a film festival. So getting into that, there is a jury at the Cannes Film Festival called the Ecumenical Jury, founded in 1974, that awards the Ecumenical Film Prize for the movie that, and I quote, best touches the spiritual dimension of our existence. The jury is composed of members chosen from two Christian organizations for film, which include Interfilm for Protestants and Cygnus for Catholics. The jury members are partially religious affiliated and partially secular. So I think currently it's like a 50-50 split between religious, primarily Christian jury members, and then secular. I think you have people, I think there's a psychology professor from Poland on the festival now, and I want to say two clergy/theologians from both the Protestant side and Catholic side. Some examples of movies that have won the Ecumenical Film Prize in the past include Jesus of Montreal, and less overtly religious movies like Capernaum and The Hunt. It's also important to note that while the Ecumenical Film Prize primarily comes from Christians, other religions do have an influence on the festival, with films showing other religions being featured, and even winning the prize in the past. Those movies don't necessarily have to win the Ecumenical Film Prize, though some have. It just is in terms of other religions besides Christianity being featured at the festival as featured films. So its economic implications, which are actually enormous, it was actually interesting to read about it, but getting into that, the Cannes Film Festival has an enormous economic impact on the city of Cannes and surrounding area. Around 40,000 celebrities, professionals, artists, and journalists come into Cannes each year for the festival. This influx of travelers completely books hotels, Airbnbs, and local inns, even allowing them to quadruple their rates in anticipation of the festival. It massively supports the local economy, with recent contributions of 205 million euros to the economy from the festival. Help supports shops, restaurants, and other services in Cannes, with spending from wealthy attendees, tourism, and interest even after the festival ends. So you'll sort of have surrounding areas like Nice and Saint-Tropez have festival goers or just tourists in general coming in that were attracted to the area by the event. And of course there are the tourists that come to Cannes to see the Palais and all that from the festival. Right, some highlights of Cannes. include screenings of films on the official selection. The official selection is just the movies that are screened at Cannes, and this is divided into two parts. Movies that are screened in the competition, which these are the movies that are up for the awards, like the Palme d'Or, Camera d'Or, etc. And then you also have the out-of-competition movies that aren't up for awards, but they're still being screened. So you'll see these in things like midnight screenings, special screenings, Cannes Classics, which are older movies primarily, and Cinéma de la Plage, which is essentially a screening of movies on the beach or near the beach. And you'll have like all these people there. The out-of-competition movies tend to be like, you'll have the classic movies, like older movies, but you'll also have the sort of bigger ticket movies of the year. And then the movies in the competition might be sort of indie or less well-known. And then some other highlights include the red carpet steps and the award ceremony itself. This is where they present the Palme d'Or, the Camera d'Or, etc. And the award ceremony occurs after the competition. Alright, so on a more serious note, its connections to race and racism. The Cannes Film Festival doesn't actually have that good of a history with regards to race. Although the festival claims to be committed to equity, mentions of race on their website are limited, instead focusing primarily on gender. Obviously, issues of gender are very important, but I found that pretty alarming that they didn't focus too much on the racial equity component. Additionally, black attendees report a culture of discrimination and microaggressions at the festival. For example, a black film critic attending Cannes in both 2019 and 2022 said she was consistently stopped by security, treated as a ticket seller, and asked to show her ticket when white attendees weren't. Also in 2018, black actresses at Cannes even protested discrimination in the French film industry on the red carpet steps. And then its effect on racism, like whether it perpetuates or seeks to dismantle it. My judgment is that it primarily perpetuates racism in the film industry. Again, that's just my judgment, but to me it doesn't seem like they do much really to stop it. For example, the Delegate General of Cannes, Thierry Frémaux, has been accused of tokenizing black filmmakers in response to criticism regarding representation. Additionally, the black film critic mentioned in the previous slide alleged that attendees of Cannes even committed microaggressions against her, for example, mistaking her for a black actress after a film screening. Additionally, indigenous attendees had been prohibited from entering events at Cannes due to wearing moccasins, which should have been allowed under the policy of Cannes. And also direct mentions of race on Cannes' Freedom of Expression, Equality, and Diversity page on their website are pretty limited. So, in general, significant work must be done to make Cannes Film Festival more inclusive, equitable, and fair. The festival should examine their policies and practices to ensure a better experience for attendees of color. Alright, and here are my references. And that's my presentation on the Cannes Film Festival. I hope it was insightful and informative, and it helped cover some of the issues with Cannes related to race and racism, and also about its history, political implications, culture, etc. Right? Thanks for watching.